Welcome to Studio Talks.
After hours.
Welcome back. You're here with your host, Ember de Boer.
And co-host, Grace Tuthill.
Today, we thought in the interest of transparency, we might tell you guys a little bit about us, who we are, where we're coming from, and what led us to be artists and therefore create the podcast in the first place. So, I think the best place to start is, how exactly did the podcast start? And true to our name, true to our nature, we spend a lot of time in the studio. I've been dubbed the camper at school. I spend a lot of time in the studio. I practically camp there. And that began at Sacramento State when I met Grace, and she had a studio. And she graciously let me crash and come hang out in her studio quite often late at night. We would spend a lot of time. She would make her ceramics and I would bother her, talk about things, draw in my sketchbook. I spent a lot of time together. And the talks we would have while we were making work, coming up with ideas, is where this process started. There was never an intention behind it when it was just in the studio and late at night. It was just conversation. But it's been almost 2 years now of late night studio talks in an actual studio. And it brings us here.
Yeah, that was a reason why I really agreed to this idea. And thank you so much, Ember, for really being the driving force behind this. But I wouldn't have agreed with it if I didn't think that the conversations that we had in all our late night studio talks was worthwhile and meaningful, and that it deserved to be shared.
I think that there's a lot of reasons we're doing this podcast. Many, many reasons. But the foundation of it is we like spending time together, and we talk about a lot of provoking things. And it's not just us in the studio, ever. We have friends, other artists. People witness these talks, become a part of them, change our opinions all the time. And the idea that by somehow externalizing and inviting the community to participate in these conversations we have, it's not just about developing us or what we want. It's about developing a conversation between people we know, we care about, creators, people who observe the art we make and want to know more. There's so much that goes on in the conversation about art and what it does for us and how it changes us, that I think it's quintessential to have discussions. I am a true believer in conversation has power, and sharing ideas has power. I'm a philosophy student as well as an art student, and the things philosophy has given me has unequivocally deepened my appreciation for the things around me. And philosophy would be a bland subject without discussion. It's inherently important to it. And as well as a lot of people experience this when they graduate, like Grace has recently graduated. They experience this lack of communal discussion and sharing of work that feels disparaging sometimes. I say that because I haven't quite reached that graduation phase yet, but feel that when I have a lack of community for my art suffers, I suffer. And so an attempt to continue adding to the pool of a dynamic community in a town we know and love, Sacramento, we're here and we're sharing, discussing, and really that's the only agenda, I think.
Yeah, I can honestly say how much other people have influenced my development in art. And that was another reason why I really wanted to be a part of this podcast, is to continue that communication, continue expanding not only my career but other people's career. And you're right, when we had these late night studio talks, how many times did we have people chiming in from the room next to us, right?
Literally the room next to us.
yeah So I mean, the things that we talk about hopefully will inspire interaction. And I want people to be able to chime in and say, like, my opinion's different and this is why. And I would love to learn. I think that's one of the best things about art, is that you're continuously learning. And that's the agenda, really. I mean, share, learn,
about yourself, about your surroundings, just becoming more involved in your existence and how you're impacted by things and how that makes you feel and what you want to do about that and what you want to turn it into. I think all of that's quintessential to the art making process, and also, why we share art with each other in general. So now that you know why we've come here and we've congregated to make this podcast, maybe we should talk a little bit about who we are, so you know where we come from.
All right. So I suppose I am going to bite the bullet.
Yes. I would like to start with, how old are you?
25.
And you recently graduated.
Thank you. With a Studio Art Methods focus in ceramics at Sac State University.
Yes, congratulations. First in her family. Give her a little round of applause. It's a really big accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you. It took some time, but I'm really proud of where I am right now.
And you're from?
Sacramento. Yeah. Local girl. Born and raised here in Sacramento. Although I'm realizing I haven't really spent that much time on the grid.
Yes, we have been learning together. I have been exploring and bringing you along with me, and we've been doing all sorts of fun stuff around the city recently. So I also wanted to talk to you about how community has influenced your work, and specifically, maybe we should start with, how did you become an artist?
Yeah, well, community has been the driving factor for me, honestly. I did a little bit of ceramics in high school and, loved what I did, but I didn't take it seriously as a outlet for myself. So I didn't touch it again for a few years until I was finishing up at my community college. And it was there at my community college, American River College, that I found a safe space, a community, and really had the opportunity to spend time with myself creating. And then once I moved from American River to Sac State, I just followed that and continued.
You mentioned there was a really important experience for you, and I've had something similar. It's special when we share moments with teachers, and you said that there has been a moment or two where you felt like, your teacher shared with you or made the experience of ceramics special for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I doubt that these professors actually know how impactful they are. It's one moment for them.
They have no idea.
Yeah. Or maybe they don't give themselves enough credit. Right. I mean, so for me, one thing that was really tenderhearted was, my professor at American River, made me a cup of tea when I wasn't feeling very good. And that was really impactful for me. I just wanted to surround myself more with that kind of care.
It feels like home.
Yeah.
I had Andrew Connolly give me and other Andrew, a friend of ours, a cup of soup at about 10, 11 p.m. at night. We were planning to spend the whole night in the studio. We were talking about how we were going to be up and how tired we were and how ridiculous it was. And we were working on a project together. And he brought us both a cup of chicken noodle soup. and we were so touched. We looked at each other and couldn't believe at the kindness, and it's a cup of soup, and but somehow it was so impactful. Yeah. Sharing moments like that with our community seems really important, and important for your work especially because your background is in social work.
Well, yes and no, right? So I originally started off at Sac State as a social work major and learned very quickly that it is hard work. And it wasn't so much that the classes were hard. Actually, I felt like it came very naturally. But that there... Well, when I started social work, they said a couple of things. One, you'll be overworked, underpaid, and you need to find an outlet to take care of yourself. So I was doing ceramics simultaneously. But another thing that turned me away from actually continuing with my social work major was that they said you have to pick a demographic. You don't have to, but I mean, like, you need to know what population you're going to be working with, right?
It's important for the career.
Absolutely. And so, a lot of people are picking their demographic, and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, one, I had serious imposter syndrome, right? I mean, it runs rampant to separate yourself from your community that you're trying to help. And usually that's the reason why you want to help the community in the first place, is because you identify with them. So I thought to myself, instead of picking a demographic where I would feel ostracized while also included, and no better than, because we're not any better than anybody else, I wanted to pick a method in which I could connect with people and help people. And so art has been an outlet, not only, and I should say that there was so much personal development that I felt like I had to do before I could even enter into the social work realm, right? I mean, how am I going to teach or show or help other people take care of themselves when I don't know how to do that myself?
Constantly working on self, which art lends itself to a lot. Constant and continual growth. You've said that many times. So
yes, always about self-reflection, and I don't want to say self-improvement, but yeah, I mean, I only don't want to say that because I don't want to criticize myself. We are who we are in any given moment.
Growing. Always growing.
Always growing.
Absolutely. Well, I know that community is important to you, but your art is quintessential to who you are now, and so we're going to do our best to describe what your artwork looks like, because I think it's really important, and it's lovely work. A lot of people resonate with it.
Thank you. It is challenging, I think, for artists themselves to talk about their artwork, and then also my artwork is so weird.
It is weird, but to give you a visual, mental picture, yes, for our listeners, it's curvilinear, it's fractal, it's organic, it's anthropomorphic, it's it can remind me of anything from starbursts to not candy, like bursts of stars, to neurons, to pathways, to connections, to your more full work now, which is round and robust and has the hint of breath, life within it, a form that has an essence to it in itself. I think that these are all things that quantify your work. It's hard. She has a dynamic range of different kinds of works. So some are made with coils, some are made with strips and slabs, some are whole, round, organic objects, and others are more like those connections or neurons. If you can visualize any of that. And also, very important to mention about Grace, she is a wood fire ceramic artist. That's what she specializes in. She does other things too. Atmospheric firings, like salt firings as well. Yes. And those two things are what you use to finish a lot of your work, right?
Yes. So there is so much meaning in both. And thank you so much for describing my work that way. Wow. Holy smokes. It does all that. My God. No, I would say that I am very inspired by natural earth processes, and so I think a lot about first off, I'm really inspired by aquatic life, so I think that translates as well. There's a very fluid motion in a lot of my work, and the way that I navigate kind of feels, a lot of people say that some of my work makes them think of coral. I've been deeply inspired by diatoms. So there's kind of a play on scale, while also a play on life.
I am going to leave pictures of diatoms on our Instagram for you guys, because I actually have heard the word before but did not know what they looked like until I talked to Grace about her body of work, and they're just gorgeous. Yeah. So I'm going to leave that for you guys to just see where some of that inspiration comes from, because they're geometric too. And if anyone knows me, I love a good triangle. So more on that later.
Yes. It's been great. I love my work, and I'm really thankful to the material for being able to translate what I'm trying to create. I think it's important when I do talk about my work to share that I really am not trying to impose a vision, but I'm trying to have a relationship with my material, in the sense that I'm responding to it and it's responding to me, and I can't impose anything that the clay is not, I have to validate it for what it is, and the artworks that kind of come out of it.
You meet the clay where it's at.
Yeah, and you also push it. There's this relationship where we push each other farther than we thought we could go. It's really nice.
That's really lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think that's probably both of our goals, right? To constantly keep pushing ourselves to create more, because we know that we can do more.
Absolutely.
So you had kind of mentioned a little bit about your artwork, that you love a good triangle.
There's reason for that.
I love that expression, by the way.
Well,
where do you think that came from?
I think my love for geometric work has grown. It wasn't always abstraction. In fact, if anything, my background is in two-dimensional, highly representational artwork. My paintings, I've studied self-portraits and lighting and figure, and most of all of my 2D work is of people, animals, and representational things. I have one large 3 foot by 6 foot abstract painting I made in my college career at my community college, and it is one of the only abstract paintings I've ever made. It's a favorite. A lot of people really love it, and it was like the first time I allowed myself to make a piece of artwork that was abstract and still consider it serious. And vehemently hated or did not respect abstract art when I was younger. I've always been a little on the edgy side of rejecting certain ideas, and it takes me time to warm up to certain things and certain opinions, and that was one of them. But I remember going to the art museum in Des Moines, Iowa, visiting my family there, and I saw an abstract piece of artwork, and I thought it was so ridiculous that I actually decided to read the artist statement. And I read the artist statement, and it immediately changed my mind. I had contempt for it, and in moments I appreciated it for what it was and thought it was really interesting. And that was one of the first pivotal moments in appreciating abstract work. Nowadays, you find triangles, fractal patterns, sharp geometric line all over my work. It's integral that it's abstract, that it's focused on form and shape. I think that as a sculptor, I just want to make beautiful forms first and foremost. We talk about how the process is for us and the end result is for other people. And what I get through working with my hands and working with my materials and my processes, that's really integral to what I get out of it. But at the end, when I look at it, I just want it to move something in me. And at the end of the day, I think it's the form that does that. The elements that come together, the way you've transitioned, all of those things. And I get that satisfaction from these circles and fractal patterns and triangles. They all culminate to create that for me.
I think that's one thing that our artwork, that we share in our artwork, is that when you're dealing with abstraction, you're connecting with a kind of a primal emotion, right? So it's a little bit scary, because when you make abstract artwork, you're hoping to influence an emotion that resonates deep within somebody, and it's not as quantifiable as, you know, say having like a pointed message, or you know, having a straightforward opinion or take on something. I like that because it allows the audience to take what they can, and it doesn't impose any sort of requirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I kind of jumped ahead of myself in regards to talking about, you know, so much meaning behind your artwork and the motives, but would you mind giving us kind of a brief, you know, who are you, Ember? Because I know who you are.
Getting into the heavy stuff, no, who am I? No, my philosophy brain went there. I am Ember de Boer. I am 23 now. I still go to Sac State and will be graduating this fall. I am the vice president of Impact, which is a big part of the reason we're here. It's a club called Individuals Motivating Progress Across Community Together. And I have ensued many endeavors in my short lifetime, but I made the decision to move from Kansas City, my hometown, when I was 19, 20, and I moved across the country here to California. The only person I knew when I moved here was my uncle, and I've lived here for about 3 years now. And Kansas City and my professors and my upbringing there is quintessential to who I am today, and I feel so lucky. I was actually reflecting on this before filming today, how blessed I've been to have teachers who have cared about my artistic development at every single stage of my education. And it's probably a culmination of where I grew up and a little bit of privilege in having access to always having teachers who taught me art. From 6th grade, I had an art teacher who taught me privately when I was really young. It was a neighbor, but you know, even recently tried to connect with her. And in high school, I had a teacher who believed in me vehemently, and in college, and all of these people constantly reaffirming not only my inner belief that art is my journey, but reaffirming that there's something more for me there, has unequivocally brought me to where I am today. And so really expressing gratitude for all of those experiences. In fact, I don't know if it can even be levied down to one teacher or one pivotal moment. I've always known that I wanted to be an artist, and I've always felt like one. And my journey of like, what kind of artist, and how do I be an artist and still take care of myself? How do I not be a starving artist? How do I turn art into something that's beautiful for me in my life, has been the long journey for me with art. And so I went to the Kansas City Art Institute when I was in high school for a summer program called PCAL, and we did art for 12 hours every day, all day, and it was gorgeous. It was so gorgeous, it broke me. It broke my mind in like the best way. I came home in the middle of it for a weekend, and I like could not believe how gorgeous everything looked. It felt altered. Like I, a real good kid then. Was not a rule breaker, was not a troublemaker at that point in time. I wasn't. And I genuinely came home and I just could not believe how gorgeous my state of reality was. And my only summation was that doing art for 12 hours every day, all day, and constantly looking for light and line and beauty and depth and color and form, it genuinely changed how I looked at things, and I was hooked. I was hooked from that moment on. My experience of why I want to be an artist has never faltered, from thinking that like that's just where it's at. Whatever I did then got me closer to a state of happiness and inner peace. that I just figured like art is where it's at. Like clearly that did something for me. So from that moment on, I devoted my life to art. I came to visit my uncle in California. I loved it out here. I thought it was beautiful, and it offered me a sense of opportunity. And so I moved. I came here. I've been here for 3 years. I've been going to Sacramento State for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now. And it's brought me to here in my art journey in Sacramento. I'm a local. I actually really like it here now. It wasn't where I intended to land, but I feel grateful that it's so similar yet so different for where I come from.
Well, I like, and it's just only one facet of your artwork, but that you are talking about the similarities between Sacramento and Kansas City. So I know you have a couple pieces. I don't know if you want to dive into that right now, but it's nice to see how that influences your artwork. It's very cool.
I think especially stepping into the realm, I've mentioned briefly that I've been working on vulnerability in my work, and talking about vulnerability, I think inherently makes me reflect on my previous experiences and where I've come from and things that have happened to me and how that's influenced who I've become. And when I first left Kansas City, there was so much internal rejection that had to happen. I had to fiercely defend my right, my reason, and my ability to even make it here. It was expensive. It was hard. I had support and help. If the people who I love and care about back home didn't support me, I wouldn't have made it. That being said, it took an immense amount of personal time, dedication, money, perseverance, and like I had to be so strong in that want to do this that I didn't allow for myself to accept the goods and the bads that came with getting rid of who I was, coming somewhere new, defining my life here. It's been pivotal. It's been difficult. It's been, a journey. As a final thank you and expression of gratitude for being here today, I wanted to give special thanks to Impact, individuals motivating progress across community together, a special club recently started at Sacramento State with the mayor, otherwise known as Genesis, and Brianna, and quite a few other lovely individuals. I wish I could name them all. There's quite a few of us, but we're a collective in Sacramento who's trying to generate more community and generate more positive experiences with art and create dynamic community interactions by helping each other, reaching goals. And so that club is a big part of why we're here, a big inspiration, and as well as expressing gratitude for Dwell Point, which is an artist collective here in Sacramento on Q and 6th Street, and Abe runs it. He also put us in contact with Robin Ventura. He helped us get everything set up today. So just wanted to give a big thanks and shout out to Dwell Point, who recently opened a shop downtown called The Print for fine art prints and a lot of artist needs downtown. So just to be involved with people who are creating stores, creating opportunities for local artists, and giving us this platform and this space to make this content and share ideas with you is inexplicably cool, and just really stoked. No, just stoked to have this experience. So thank you to Dwell Point, thank you to Impact, thank you to our professors, thank you to our teachers, to Sacramento State for giving us the culminative experience to bring this all together and end up here. And I just wanted to make sure we gave a genuine expression of gratitude to those who deserve it before we left you today. So thank you.
Yeah. If you enjoyed listening today, please rate us on iTunes.
Find us on Spotify.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And follow us on Instagram at Studio Talks After Hours.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.